I decided to create a game environment scene in order to strengthen my skills as a 3D environment creator. By doing this, I was able to work on skills in material creation, 3D modelling and game layout. I created this piece as a continuation to a previous unit. I decided to do this as I felt a larger finished piece would work a lot better for my portfolio and would give me experience in finished environments. In this unit, I paid a lot more attention to cloth assets, as this is something I haven't looked into so much in the past and is another step in becoming an experienced 3D environmental artist. I created straight stage curtains, rounded stage curtains, and a variety of pillows using the cloth modifier in 3ds Max. A good understanding of the cloth modifier can come in handy in many situations and environments, making it a valuable skill to have. For the curtains, I used the cloth modifier in 3ds Max. I created a plane with enough polys for the cloth modifier to work and not look jagged. This was roughly about 100 by 50. I positioned the plane vertically and applied the cloth modifier. After this, I created a box and placed it over the top level of verts. On my plane using the wireframe mode to line this up correctly. I then created a group for the top level of verts and added a box as a node. In the properties, I set the plane as a cloth and gave it cotton properties. After this, I set it to simulate and shortened the box attached to the plane. This created the crumple effect seen in the curtains. For the drapes and the curtains, I used a similar technique, but I created 2 groups and 2 nodes. One for the leftmost vertical lines of the verts and one for the right, and this time I let the cloth drape and then pulled the 2 nodes apart to create the folding drapes. The smaller circular stage consists of 2 large individual curtains, 2 smaller individual curtains to act as entrances, and 5 smaller individual drapes that line the top. I used the same technique to create these, but applied a bend modifier to each curtain after it was created to create the rounded shape. This time I created a box with enough polys for the cloth modifier to work. Then I applied the cloth modifier. I set the gravity to 0 and upped the pressure in the properties to make the box inflate. I then used a combination of adding objects in the properties as collision objects to make it dent into the pillows, and FFD boxes to make them look used and slightly sunken. I then placed some of the pillows on top of each other and applied the cloth modifier again to get them to sink into each other nicely and look as natural as possible. To create the hookah pipes, I started with a sphere at the bottom that I squashed using an FFD box modifier. I then deleted the top 2 rings of the sphere, extruded the edges up to create a vase-like shape, and applied a shell modifier to cap it off and thicken the plane. After this, I used a mixture of extruding and chamfering to get the curved body. I created another sphere with the same number of polys as the first, and again deleted 2 rings and welded the verts from the sphere to the body. By doing this, I got the desired design. For all of my materials, I used Substance Designer or Unreal Engine. I then blended the nodes together, subtracting the smaller circles from the larger ones to make the hollowed out circles. I then made it into a material in Unreal and duplicated the image, tiled one slightly to make it bigger, and created panners with different time settings on both to get them to move and overlap. I blended them together and multiplied them with a scalar value and plugged that into emissive colour to get them to slightly glow. To create my mug materials, I made a pattern in Substance Designer. I then imported this into Unreal to give it a rug effect. For this, I used a parallax occlusion node and created several different values that I could then control through a material instance, such as the tiling, the height, and the max and the min steps. I hope to continue into my master's course next year, and I feel that the skills I have gathered from this unit could aid me in my further education. To begin my process, I started with concepting my environment. I already had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do due to the work I did in the previous unit. Once I'd done this and I was happy with my idea, I got to figuring out what the cornerstone pieces of my environment were, so what the large, most impactful pieces were. These were the stage and the bar. After this, I started to work on the smaller pieces like the pillows, lighting fixtures and bar stools. And then I lit my scene properly and placed an atmospheric fog to mimic heavy smoking and the particle effects from the drinks upstairs. All in all, I don't think this is to a professional standard, but I have worked on areas that will help me in my journey of becoming a 3D environmental artist, and I do believe that through this unit I have gained necessary experience in areas I was previously lacking.